All right, what is going on, everybody? The Xbox 2 podcast is finally live this Friday, May 3rd. I'm one of your hosts, Randall Thor 19, man with the million. And with me, as always, the co host of the Xbox 2 podcast, the one and only Jez Corden. How's it going, buddy?
I'm good, man. I'm good. I'm annoyed because I got no milk. I'm having to drink black tea. I don't like black tea.
Mm,
That's first world problems. Right there, man. First
first
world
world
problems.
problems indeed. So, so how's your week been, man? We actually played a game together yesterday, which we'll talk about in our game played segment. But how's your week been?
It's been good, actually. Productive, you know, cool stuff happening. Windows Central, behind the scenes, chilling. Girlfriend's been away, so had more gaming time than usual.
The
On vacation.
girlfriend is away, so that means Jez can speak loudly and closely into his mic so everybody can hear him.
Hey, he's saying that I don't always do that.
I was just saying, you like sometimes you trail off. Like as we were just doing this, you started to trail off, and it was difficult for me to even hear you. So
Well, the problem is usually we're podcasting at 10 p.m. here in Germany, and I live with a bunch of people, and you know, in the interest of courtesy, I try to keep it down a bit, but there's absolutely nobody here now, so I can be as
scream. Wait.
loud.
So wait. Are you? Do you have like a bottle of Jack there? Like
No, actually,
how fast and loose are we talking about here, Jez?
I have a bottle of Highland Park single malt Scotch whiskey that's been aged for 12 years.
Ah, okay.
Blind.
And we know what happens when Jez gets drunk on podcasts.
We do. I'm not gonna get drunk on this. There's not enough left.
Sometimes leaks will get dropped. Things that shouldn't be said are said and can't be taken back.
Damn, that's smooth.
So, yeah, we got hopefully a great show for everybody listening, whether you're here live already or you're listening to this later on iTunes or Google Play. But if you're here live, already like almost 200 here, make sure you hit the like button and the share button because YouTube doesn't do that anymore, which is quite unfortunate. You actually got to click the share button to share it out on Twitter and Facebook and all these different places. YouTube is making it harder for us smaller YouTubers to actually expand our reach. So do us that favor, hit the like button, hit the share button, and I mean the topics we got. Me and Jez will talk about the Xbox and Crytek rumor that was like making the rounds.
That was a fun one.
Yeah, that's always interesting. And I mean, it's right before E3, so all these like everybody's got rumors. Everybody wants to be important, and like I have sources, right? Like I know things, and so yeah, like this one popped up. PS5's, gonna dominate next gen because it has secret sauce inside. The secret sauce.
Secret sauce.
So we'll discuss like what could it possibly be, and could Xbox Anaconda's special sauce defeat Sony's secret sauce?
Ooh. Battle of the
Ooh.
Sauce.
The source.
We'll
Dude,
see.
the Borderlands drama with Randy
Oh,
Pitchford
God
lying
damn.
yet again. Like,
That
can that
dude.
dude just not lie for a single second? Like,
I don't think he means it. And we'll talk about it in more detail in a minute. But man, it was funny because Jason Schreier from Kotaku, he posted like, I'm getting all nostalgic about this stuff, and he posted a series of screenshots, and the first one was like a Kotaku leak. Battleborn set to go free to play, and then there was a tweet from Randy saying, "No way, we're not going free to play." And then the next one was, "Battleborn goes free to play." Like,
I know, crazy, right?
funny.
And
Yeah.
shout out to Gunstar for the super chat. Thanks for the support. He says, "Give me a batch of Secret Sauce. Love you guys." Thanks for the super chat. The Secret Sauce. So yeah, Epic Games continuing their agenda to destroy Steam. This time, snatching up somewhat big studio.
Yeah.
And my first thought when I saw that was like, oh man, Phil, you really missed out on this one. Where was the Psyonix reveal at last year's E3?
Yeah, you'd think like Psyonix would probably be a good pickup for Xbox, but I don't know if it is that good of a pickup. We can talk about that more in a bit.
Yeah. So there's a whole bunch of stuff we want to talk about. But before we do, we talk about games played. And, even though me and Jez We do a podcast together. We talk pretty much every day, DMs on Twitter and stuff like that. Yesterday was like the first time, really, that me and Jags actually got together in a party. It was just me and him, and we played a game together.
It's like I think we've played Battlefield 1 briefly for like
Yes,
30 minutes or something, but that was the first time we had an actual gaming session.
yes. Because I usually get on, and you're already off. I get on later at night to play, and you sent me a message, and you were like, hey, you want to try out Sea of Thieves, the anniversary update? And I was like, yeah, sure, why not? Like, I haven't played it yet, and I said I would. So me and Jez, we did what? The Shoutbreaker? Tall Tales?
We did mission 1 of the Shroudbreaker quest chain.
Yes.
One of 9 missions.
1 of 9.
That's 1 of 9. And that took us like what?
It took us an hour and a half, basically because I had to do everything.
What? Whoa.
Whoa.
Whoa. Let's go one thing straight right now, buddy.
There was a point where
everything.
Jez was just waiting for me to come with the ship. They had to pick him up, and he was just sitting there.
I was looking after the Shroudbreaker, which is a very important job.
Yes, very
well. Who let the ship sink? That was you.
Okay, so this is what happened. All right, so let's recap it. So they have Sea of Thieves. They added a whole big update, right? 1 year anniversary update where they added the arena, which is a multiplayer PvP thing, right? Like really kind of I think a 20-minute time thing, 5 teams competing against each other type stuff. But in my opinion, the bigger update or thing that was added was kind of what you would call quest or actual like story in the game with voice acting more so and acting. like finding like so you go to the mysterious stranger and he starts telling you about this story of the shores of gold and stuff, right? And you go on and you're like, okay, so you get this book and it's like, okay, you gotta like figure out the clues, right? Which was a lot more interesting than anything else I've ever played in Sea of Thieves. Like normally it's just like you get a treasure map, here's the X, go dig it, or stuff like that. So it's like immediately it's a little bit different. You kind of got to use your brain to plot out the clues. So I think we like went to an island because they were like, oh, there's a shipwreck over by this island. So we went to the island and there was a shipwreck and we got like the captain's log. Then we're reading the captain's log and it was like all this different info and we're plotting the course to find out where they dumped the chest. And we found the chest and inside the chest had like a drawing of an island and the key to open it. So then we found the island, found the thing to open it, and then we had to solve a puzzle, which is like unlike anything in Sea of Thieves where you started
wasn't. I mean, it was pretty easy, but it wasn't like some of these super patronizing puzzles like in Anthem or something.
No, but it was definitely something that was missing from the game. Like here you are actually solving a puzzle, right? Like you had to light the 4 torches and then you had to align the columns before you died because the room started filling in with water.
And every false attempt increased the speed at which the water came in.
Yeah,
so it was like there was an element of danger.
And once that took about like an hour and a half. We got the reward, and we're going to get back on the boats, and a new type of skeleton like army attacks us, like one with corals. And I will repeat this again and I know Jess hates me saying this. My God, Sea of Thieves looks amazing on my OLED.
Oh my God!
Oh my God, that game is absolutely gorgeous.
That was literally all you kept saying for an hour and a half. Was like, oh my God, my OLED! Oh my God, my OLED! Like, shut up, Brand. I don't care about you stupid OLED.
That's right. So our boat sank though for whatever reason, right? So Jez had the Shroudbreaker and our boat sank. So I had to teleport to get the boat while Jez kept the Shroudbreaker safe. And so I'm by myself trying to get the ship back to Jez. And what do you know what happens? A Kraken literally spawns as I'm going to pick up Jez. Destroys the ship. So, okay, I got to respawn the ship again, go to Jez, and pick up Jez. And as we're going back to the port, I'm like, wow, we didn't die, Jez. That's amazing. They spawned a Megalodon right behind us. But luckily, we finished it. And it was like the first voyage or first thing of like 9. And that took us like an hour and a half. So it definitely seems like, you know what it really felt like? it felt like finally Sea of Thieves is out of early access and beta. Like this
Yeah,
is the final release. Like
yeah,
this is what the game should have been a year ago. You know what I mean?
I agree. You know what? I actually asked people at Microsoft why they didn't just call it an early access, and they were like, "Can you imagine what people would say like if we were using like our own early access period and made a game early access stuff?" And like, I don't know how I feel about that. I feel like if Microsoft wants to make an early access game and develop it with the community, they should be allowed to without feeling like they can't for some reason. I don't know, but
Well, I think we talked a little bit about that on the last show. They would get crucified. Well, they would get definitely some hate for it because the only people that do early access are indie studios that need the money and are building the game as they go. And you're Microsoft, you're $1 trillion company. Granted, Xbox isn't $1 trillion division within Microsoft, but still, it would come across as very weird that here's a game from Rare and you're selling it for $60, but it's early access,
mm,
right? So
maybe. I suppose like most people aren't sort of they're not privy or they just don't really care too much about the business reality of things. But you know, it is what it is. You know, I say like we got there in the end, and I actually like because I'm someone who's you know notoriously pretty excited for Sea of Thieves, and then ultimately disappointed with what we got. But I've been playing it a lot more recently. Even doing the stuff like the fishing stuff is super addictive and super fun in my opinion. And and the whole sort of the grindy bit that feels like it has more value now, purely on the basis that it's not the core content anymore. Like when all of the content was just that grind, it just felt like completely pointless. But as a side objective against the backdrop of these more interesting quests, I actually enjoy it a lot more. So I don't know. I've been playing it solo as well because, as I say, all my gaming friends are typically in America, and I don't get to be online with them that often. But
yeah. So it's
fishing is great.
definitely if you haven't played in a while, I think, and you know you still have Game Pass or you own the game, I think it's definitely worth checking out just to see what the Tall Tales has to offer.
Yeah, for sure.
Obviously, it's not going to be like a cinematic, epic, single player experience like a lot of people want, but it's definitely a very interesting. It's definitely something kind of very unique to Sea of Thieves, and it made me want to continue to see it through, to do all nine voyages to see kind of how they evolve it. Like, is it literally going to be, oh, just read this thing, go to this one island, find something there. Oh, okay, now I need to go somewhere else. And do the puzzles change? Like, I'm kind of interested in seeing how that evolves. But first impression, not bad. And I know Sea of Thieves is a punching bag among like the people that don't like Xbox and especially don't like Sea of Thieves. But I'm not saying this updates for everybody, but I would definitely say go back in and this might be something you can enjoy for 10 hours or whatever. I know Jez was really loving the fishing. Every time, I'm steering the boat and doing everything, Jez is fishing off the side of the boat trying to catch fish.
I feel obligated because you know, I went on about fishing quite a bit,
Yeah.
and and now I feel like I've got to do it. But it's actually they've done it really well. It's basically exactly the same as Red Dead Redemption, or at least sort of like in that sort of vein. It's not identical to Red Dead Redemption, but it's pretty close.
Yeah, I mean it's
Um,
cool. I mean all the fishing in Far Cry and Red Dead and Sea Thieves, they all basically share the same mechanic.
yeah,
So,
yeah, yeah.
so we played that for a little bit and moved on. I think we said we'll continue it. I did read though that if we were to die in that, solving the puzzle, we'd have to redo the entire voyage again, which, took us an hour and a half. So
That
I'm
would
glad we did.
trigger me so
Yeah,
badly.
I would have been
But
pissed. But I'm definitely interested in checking out what the rest of it has to offer. But have you been playing anything else besides Sea of Thieves? Because I do have a game I want to talk about because there's some things I want to say about a certain game that came out last week.
all right, well, I've been playing Minecraft's Village and Pillage up there actually quite a bit, funnily enough. I won't go on about it too much, but basically they added like a whole bunch of depth to the village biome in Minecraft. Now there's like different types of villages, and also like evil villages which attack the good villages in like a sort of horde mode scenario. So like these like illagers or pillagers or whatever they're called, they attack like the villagers in like a horde, and like if you beat them all, you become like the hero of the village, and then you get like a permanent discount, which is like just something I never thought I'd see in Minecraft, where like the NPCs in the game actually have like a real purpose. So that's been interesting, and also there's a bunch of new mobs I've never seen. Like, there's just a huge amount of content in Minecraft that I hadn't even was aware existed, just because I hadn't played for so long. Like they've got crossbows now, which is far more, easier to use than bow and arrow. And there's like shields too. You can block arrows coming at you. There's all sorts of new mobs, like these really annoying birds, phantoms, I think they're called, which attack you if you haven't slept enough. It's I don't know. I just love Minecraft. It's seeing a resurgence. Like I saw on Twitter, they were saying that Minecraft's watch hours on YouTube are back up to like 2.8 billion, and it's steadily climbing. So Minecraft seems like the game that just keeps on giving Microsoft right now.
Yeah.
Other than Minecraft, I've been on the Division. I've been playing it slowly. I've just hit World Tier 1, I think it is. Like I've basically in the end meta game now. I don't know. Have you played the Division 2 much?
Yeah, I put about a good 30 to 40 hours in Division 2. It was quite enjoyable. I definitely thought it was a improvement over Division 1.
Did you get into the World Tier meta game? Because
So,
the game.
in my world I'm World Tier 1 cuz I was playing and but like I've been in World Tier 4 cuz my buddies
Okay.
Maka and Gopher are in World Tier 4. So we did that new title basin update in
All
World
right.
Tier 4 and I think my character is like or gear score 460 or something.
Yeah.
It's okay. I mean,
I was
the
like, I was impressed with the amount of detail they tried to inject into the end game in Division 2, because it's like, well, basically the whole game is setting up the end game, and then when you get to the world tier, the I mean, spoiler alert, but it's not really that much of a spoiler because the story's not that great in the game, or you know, it's not really the focus of the game. But basically, the Black Tusk from the original game show up and they take over a bunch of dungeons, and you get like areas have like this invaded status, which sort of makes them, I don't know, like different to the way they were before, with new mobs and new mechanics and stuff like that. So I mean that's like interesting and stuff. I'm looking forward to getting further into that. But a lot of people on the Division 2 subreddit are complaining about lack of things to do. I don't know like how much free time people have. I suppose it's a part of a wider discussion about how how can how can how can they actually deliver on people's expectations when it comes to these service-driven games? I mean,
well,
Anthem's like, when they added that extra dungeon to Anthem, it was like 10 minutes of copy and paste, and it was just like, man, they've rushed this out so hard just because people were complaining, and I don't know. It's part of a wider discussion, probably.
yeah, well, at least it could be worse. You could be Anthem right now and losing like 50% of your player base. Nobody knows what's going on. Everybody's leaving to go do Dragon Age 4. I think the entire game got handed off to Bioware Austin
Oh, really?
to finish off like the live service stuff. Yeah, it's like
Oh my God.
and they say like, "Oh, we're 100% committed to Anthem," but
Yeah.
yeah, like their entire roadmap got delayed. It's just not really a good look for Anthem, you know. So who knows what's
Basically,
gonna
it
happen?
feels like it almost, and I don't want to be too dire about it, but it almost feels like EA took an axe to Mass Effect, and now they've taken an axe to Anthem, and now they're moving on to take an axe to Dragon Age. I've got like, I'm the biggest Dragon Age fan I know. Like, I've got like more hours in Dragon Age than any other game. I think I've completed Dragon Age Origins like 8 times or something ridiculous, which is rare for me. I don't usually replay games much. Dragon Age Origins, I just replayed over and over and over for some reason. And I have no faith in Dragon Age 4 whatsoever, which is so depressing.
Mm.
I don't know. Well, tell us, Randy Pie, gonna start calling you Randy Pipe from now on. What have you been playing this week?
So, I've been spending most of my time on the PlayStation 4 since Friday.
Oh my god! Traitor.
Yes, the PlayStation 4.
Randall
I have
Traitor.
been playing Days Gone. I didn't actually start it on Friday because I went and I saw Avengers Endgame Thursday night, which I'm not going to spoil for anybody. It was enjoyable, but it wasn't like amazing, to me at least. So I started Days Gone. I think it was like Friday night or Saturday, and I okay. So what is it? Almost a week later. I haven't finished it yet. I'm probably about 15 hours in, and I gotta say, it's okay. So the first 10 hours is of Days Gone. I was just like, oh, I get the reviews. I get this game being a 70. In fact, I would have given it a 6.5 because the first 10 hours of Days Gone, it is an average, generic, open world zombie game. The only difference between it and the State of Decay 2 is that this one is more cinematic. But the thing is like Deacon St. John, the main character, isn't really that good of a character, right? And the combat is not very good at all, right? So it doesn't actually feel good to shoot the zombies. And I wasn't liking the motorcycle. So here I am forcing myself to play Days Gone. And I don't like the main character. I don't like the world. I don't like the combat. I don't like how you get around the main world. And I'm just like, oh my God, like Sony screwed this up. Like I expect greatness from Sony's first party. And Days Gone just isn't it. Days Gone just wasn't delivering it for me, right? But then after about 12 hours, it started to get better. And that's what my couple of my friends have told me. Like, for whatever reason, Days Gone's first 10 hours is just not very good at all. And I
In terms of what?
completely
Like story? Or
in term like there's just yeah, I don't know, like in terms of the story, the characterization of Deacon, uh like how the bike controls in the beginning, like the fact that you got to constantly like find fuel to refill your bike all the time is annoying. And yeah, my bike is, it's upgraded so it's much faster and it's easier to use, but I was not impressed whatsoever. And I was like, and I'm thinking like, here's God of War and Spider-Man games, which I finished over a weekend because they were so amazing. And I'm forcing myself to basically play Days Gone in 2 hour like intervals because there's nothing going on.
why were you
And
forcing
then,
yourself to play it? Are you reviewing it?
I mean, I bought it. I spent $60 on it, and it was something I wanted to play. So I was like, and plus, people I trust told me that it gets better.
Stick with it.
Right? So stick with it. It gets better. And yeah, it does. So I'm at 15 hours in. I've gotten to Iron Mike's, which is like the third camp you unlock because there's these like survivor camps which you can do like missions for, and you use credits to buy things there and things of that nature. And yeah, the game's gotten a lot better. Game is gotten a lot better, and I'm actually kind of excited to finish it and where it goes from there. But it took a while to get to that point. Like in the beginning, I didn't like anything about the game. Now I actually like Deacon St. John. The motorcycle's good because it's been upgraded. The combat's still crap. I don't care what anybody says. Combat's still crap in the game. It's a little bit better now because I have better weapons and my focus is longer, so I can slow down time, so I can actually headshot at everybody. But it's basically a generic third person shooter. Like it doesn't. It just, I don't know, feels like Strange Brigade shooting or whatever. Like it's just not very refined. The world's getting more interesting. I will say the game looks amazing on the Pro. So, and I'm sure there are people listening here like, Ray, how could Rand like this game and hate this game? Like I'm going through the motions with this game. Like I didn't like in the beginning, and I posted my thoughts on Twitter, and there are definitely plenty of PlayStation fans who were upset that I wasn't liking it, and now I am liking it, although it's nowhere near as good as some of the other Sony games from last year. So I'm gonna finish it because now it actually caught my interest.
Well,
But
that's encouraging because I actually pre-ordered it, and then went back on that pre-order because people were telling me reviews how buggy it was and stuff like that. And I thought, well, I'm not going to add a a game that needs polish to my backlog. I'll wait a bit and get it when it's been patched up or something like that.
Yeah.
Um,
It's just
so
there's just some weird choices, Jazz. There's just some weird choices that I don't understand. Like, I don't understand why it takes 15 hours to actually start getting good. There are clear design decisions that they cut out of the game. There are cutscenes which I think are supposed to play out differently. Anybody who's played it, like, the game starts off with like you putting your girlfriend who's been stabbed on a helicopter, right? But then you don't go with her. And the whole game revolves around like, okay, you and your buddy are trying to survive, but you're kind of like, you're trying, you still haven't gotten over the supposed death of your wife. And shocker, your wife may not be dead, right?
ooh,
And that kind of like
hang
fueled.
on, hang on. Isn't that basically the start of The Walking Dead?
I don't know. I mean, it basically is The Walking Dead, the video game, right?
I mean that's literally how The Walking Dead starts.
Yeah, I
Like,
mean, it's
or
basically it's
something
basically
similar.
The Walking Dead, the video game. So that's kind of like the what propels the story. But there's these weird cutscenes like 5 hours in where then it replays what happened that night, and then it makes it seem like you should be able to play through the sequence, and it just cuts and cuts. It's like, oh, we need to get through this warehouse, and then it cuts, and there's somebody shooting you in the warehouse, and it's like, well, you stay here, I'll draw his attention, and you sneak around him, right? So you're thinking, okay, what? This is going to be like an introduction, like stealth, but then it just cuts to you behind the guy, right? So it
Mm-hmm.
almost seems like this was supposed, like this cutscene was supposed to be this long tutorial to all the things, and then they just changed it, and now it wasn't.
Do you think
It was
they
really
ran out
jarring.
of time or something?
I don't know if they ran out of time. It was just a really jarring thing, and the game does something with cutscenes which I don't like, right? And this kind of takes me out of the experience to a certain degree. Every time because it's an open world game and there's a bunch of missions to do, and it is very cinematic, right? You drive to a mission, and then if a cutscene plays, it goes black, right? And it loads, and then there's the cutscene. And then when the cutscene finishes, it goes black and then loads back out to the open world. And it's just, maybe I'm just so used to games remaining within their world where Mortal Kombat 11's cutscenes flow right into the gameplay. Red Dead Redemption 2's cutscenes flows right into the gameplay. The Naughty Dog games, like a lot of games nowadays, they don't have cuts to show a cinematic or loading screen. It's just seamless gameplay into cinematic and then out back into the gameplay. And that kind of really just pulls me out. Like, I'll be just watching something, and now there's a load screen or a black screen, and I'm watching a movie, and then black screen again, and now I'm playing again. It's a weird choice they went with.
Hmm.
So yeah, so all I can say is, like, if you're on the fence, like I mentioned in the previous podcast, like I mentioned with Crackdown 3, play the game for yourself and see what you think. Because I've always said this. I think there's a lot of emphasis on reviews that really shouldn't be. People like see the Metascore and they're like, well, 70 Metacritic. I can't waste my time with the game that's a 70. And is 70 a really bad game? Not really. I mean, is like 65 that far from 70? We're like, well, is that really a bad game? Not really. It's just probably not a great one. But it is interesting to see like the shift of like State of Decay 2, which is not that far off from the Metacritic of Days Gone, right? I think Days Gone actually dropped a point to 71, and I think State of Decay 2 is at like a 67, so they're not that far apart. But one, it's like, it's trash. Nobody should play this garbage. Blah 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 blah. But with Days Gone, it's like, oh, the only thing that matters is fun, and I'm having fun playing Days with Gone, and who cares about reviews, right? It's definitely interesting to see the talking points that both kind of had like spawned. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Where it's like, now that Sony releases a game that isn't as good as God of War or Spider-Man or The Last of Us or Uncharted 4, suddenly review scores don't matter, and it should be about the fun of the title. But then the same people who were liking Crackdown and said it's just about the fun for them, not whether or not it was like a great cinematic experience. People were like, "That's trash."
I did see
Very interesting.
I did see some people behaving like that. I didn't call them out, but it was funny to see people who were doing that. Like, you know, you can't have it's I don't know why it's such a taboo. You can't have fun with a game that doesn't score well on Metacritic. Like I've got like 100 plus hours in State of Decay just because I love the the Sims metagame. I just love it.
Yeah.
And I think that's why that's the only reason State of Decay gets any decent reviews is because that sim element is so unique and there's nothing really out there that does that to that level. Even if literally everything else about the game is janky and messy and stuff like that. Like it took them like almost a year to fix the weird jitter when you're playing when you're panning while you're aiming a weapon in State of Decay 2. One thing that really annoyed me is that when you pan from left to right, the camera like jerks along with the character model, and it looks so bad and janky. It took them a year to fix that. You know? So
Yeah.
it's a janky game, but I still had a lot of fun with it, and it's okay. And there's people who what did Sea of Thieves do? 66 on Meta.
Something like that.
There
Yeah.
are people who have like 1,000 hours played on that game, and it's like, are they pretending to have fun?
I don't know. I mean,
Have fun? I don't
Thieves
know.
isn't for everybody. Days Gone isn't for everybody. I've always said, play the game for yourself and see if you like it. Now, I understand video games are expensive. Sometimes you just can't make that leap and be like, well, I don't know about Days Gone because it's $60, and $60 is a lot of money to a lot of people out there.
That's
So
why
I
I
get it.
canceled my pre-order.
Yeah, so I mean, like, I get it. Like, I'm just saying, like, judge for yourself. Like, if you're so willing to be like, well, it's a 90 on Metacritic, so it's amazing, but then shit on a game when it's a 65, but then when a game's a 70, be like, well, reviews don't matter. If you're one of those people like reviews don't matter, and then suddenly they do matter, and you know what I mean? Like I don't know. Like the obsession with Metacritic is definitely a weird thing. And people say all the time that they don't care about like Metacritic, but clearly they do. Every single time a game gets rated super high or super low or exclusive game from any like Nintendo, Microsoft, or Sony, like people lean into that Metacritic so hard. And I know what, when people say like, oh, well, that Metacritic doesn't mean anything. I'm like, you're lying to yourself because I see it all the time. But I'm happy I am sticking with Days Gone because it is getting better. So I'll finish it. I'll probably make a video, but I can definitely understand why some people are like, yeah, it's like, Dablo says in chat a 6.5 for him, but then somebody like DI says he's loving it. And, I see people on Twitter like OBJ loving the game and then other people saying it's trash. Like, I get it. Because I was at the point where I didn't even want to play the game anymore. You could talk to my buddy Gopher. I was like, I don't know if I want to play this game anymore because it's not good. It's not good. The first 10 hours is not good whatsoever.
Okay.
And I was bored. I'm like, I was looking at I was like, no, like this is not good. And then it's starting to get good. And it's just, I don't know, maybe it was a weird choice for it to get so long in the tooth. Like, I don't know why. I mean, like 15 hours in, it feels like it's just getting started. And most other games, it's like you could finish Spider-Man in that amount of time already. You could beat God of War in 20 if you don't do like the side missions. Like Last of Us isn't that long, and it's just I don't know, it's just really weird. Well, that's what I said. Di said that you like the game, but there's other people that don't. And I can definitely see all the opinions because I was kind of feeling it myself. I was like,
Well, I'm intrigued, and I think I'll probably pick it up.
Yeah.
I don't want to pick it up until I haven't even fully finished.
Although
Red Dead Redemption.
Sony did put out a Accolades trailer, and I've never seen an Accolades trailer with reviews from. I've never seen an Accolades trailer for a game that scored so low. Like normally, you put an Accolades trailer and you have like IGN and GameSpot and the big websites that people know. On this one has like 5 out of 5 from Cheat Code Central.
That's one talking point about Days Gone that has been interesting is the narrative that Sony just marketed it really
Well, no,
well.
Sony does an excellent job marketing the game. Everybody knew about Days Gone. Like they had so many trailers. It was in front of movies. It was in front of my showing of Avengers. Like
Really?
they knew exact. I mean, they know how to market their games. Like that's one thing you can count on for Sony. They will market the shit out of something. And when you compare it to how Microsoft marketed Crackdown, it's
They're
night and day.
almost
You know?
embarrassed. to
Yeah.
market Crackdown.
But that's my initial thoughts on Days Gone. I'll try to finish it this weekend and put out an actual video. But I won't title it Xbox fan reviews Days Gone like literally everybody else put out a video. Like everybody else's video about Days Gone was Xbox fan plays Days Gone. Was this Xbox fan wrong? Like it's like okay, like literally, like
we bitch about YouTubers and clickbait a lot, but I feel for YouTubers, man, because that's how Google's built their
I know that's how Google
algorithms,
builds
man.
it, and I'm just and it's my buddies. They all did it. You know, like Dealer and Zalker and Colt all had Xbox fan to some degree in their titles for the video, and I just laughed. No shots to the eye. I was talking to Dealer about this last night. I'm like, all three of you guys put Xbox fan in the freaking thing for the name, you know, the title of the video. It's like, come on. Like
You could go the other way. Put like Xbox hater.
well, you know, I was thinking I was gonna be like an Ouya fan, you know, plays Days Gone or something like that, right?
fan.
Or like an Atari fan
Google
or
Stadia
something.
fan.
Yeah. So yeah. Let's move on to, you know what? Let's talk about since we're on PlayStation 5, which, you know, we talk about, yes, the podcast is Xbox 2, because that's our main focus, but basically we talk whatever we damn well want to talk about. Since we're talking about PlayStation, we'll just go right into the secret sauce, the special sauce.
Secret sauce.
Yeah. All right. So before we get into that, I guess I got to answer this question from John early in the super chat since we haven't actually started talking about this. He says, "What's the point of being an early adapter of the Xbox 2 when they're just going to redesign somewhere down the line? I know the original Xbox One was going to get a redesign. They're becoming predictable." So the question is, why buy an Xbox 2 when you know there's going to be a redesign, a cheaper redesign in 3 to 4 years, and potentially like a X version or a Pro version?
You answered it in the question. You have to wait 3 to 4 years.
Yeah, it's because you have to wait. You know, the early adopter always gets screwed, like FC Violent says in the chat. Like they always get screwed because like you buy something, you know, for instance, Days Gone, $60 right now. In a month, it'll be $40. Like you're always paying the most money for something that over the course of time is going to get cheaper, and there might be a better version of it. That's just kind of how this stuff works.
Yeah, I mean, look at the like, Game of the Year editions, right? So like now you can buy The Witcher for $30 and it has all the DLC in it. But you have to wait several years to get to that point. And it's just basic economics. It's because there's not many people buying the game anymore. So the value of it has decreased by its very nature of, basic market stuff. So, you don't want to wait, you early adopt. And I don't want to wait. So
yeah, that's the thing. It's like how badly do you want to have it? That's kind of the issue. It's like, do you need to have the Xbox 2 right away? Do you want to spend $500 for it? If the answer to those questions are yes, then you buy it. And if the answer to those questions is no, then you wait for price cuts and eventual redesign that's better, or maybe a more powerful version. I mean, most consoles, you know, keeping in with history of like the PlayStation and Xboxes, they sell the majority of their consoles when they're cheaper, when they're $200 or less. I mean, that was true with the PS3 and the PS2 and the PS1. That's just kind of the mass market price points, because the only people that really buy these consoles at $500 and $400 are the true hardcore. They obviously, like, well, you know, supply and demand dictates certain things, and obviously, you know, a PlayStation 4 is more people are going to be interested in a PlayStation 4 at $200 than they would at $400. I mean, it's pretty simple. So I guess that, you know, it all depends on, do you need it right away? And if you don't need it right away, then you can wait. So back to the PlayStation thing, the secret sauce, Jez.
It's out.
AMD's I forget her name, Susan, I believe. Like they had like I forget like her full name, which I apologize. They did the AMD keynote thing where she invited Phil Spencer out, which was probably about 2 months ago, and they talked about their partnership and what they're doing with basically the next gen Xbox. But AMD also is doing all the stuff for the PlayStation 5, right? They're doing everything for Xbox and they're doing everything for PlayStation 5. And she said basically that the console's gonna, that they were proud to work on, the PlayStation 5 and they helped build their version of secret sauce for the PlayStation 5. Secret sauce, special sauce.
I've been that's from Epic Mealtime. If you ever watched that?
Lisa Sue is her name, yes.
At least.
What do you think the secret sauce of the PlayStation 5 is? Is it a dual GPU? Remember those rumors how the Xbox One had a hidden secret GPU, second GPU inside of it?
Yeah. Oh god, I remember those. Those were my favorite rumors. But the Xbox had some kind of like they made it underpowered on purpose for some reason.
Yep.
That was my favorite rumor ever. But no. I have no idea.
You have no idea.
I have no idea what it could be.
You have no idea.
No idea, Rand.
Do you think it maybe just be a executive talking up a product that she's making with a customer and just being like, it's going to be great. And we got secret sauces inside of it.
Yeah, I think so. But it makes for a nice headline, doesn't it?
It does. Do you think Microsoft will have their own secret sauce that AMD make for them?
You know what, Rand? I do. I do think that.
So there is going to be a secret sauce.
I do think there's going to be a secret sauce, quote unquote.
So what's the secret sauce? Is it a picture of Phil Spencer like combing his hair? Is it Larry Herb Major Nelson's white gloves in the system somewhere? Is that the secret sauce?
I think the secret sauce is so secret and so powerful that we just can't even comprehend it.
Oh my god! Okay,
I've got a feeling, Rand, that we'll never know for sure the true nature of the secret sauce. I think it's almost as if you could only understand what the secret sauce is if you're an AMD investor.
Yeah. I think both systems will have their own version of secret sauce, whatever AMD is making for them. I see Face in chat is saying, and I've heard these rumors too. Like I didn't make a video about it, but that the dev kit for the PlayStation 5 is supposedly 13 teraflops of raw power, Jazz. 13! Which, of course, has led to speculation. Is like, well, is the PS5 going to have 13 teraflops of power in the final retail version? Or is that somehow just the dev version? Because sometimes, like in dev units, like usually they have twice as much RAM.
The dev units are always more powerful.
And I think like the X dev unit was like 6.6 teraflops. If I could be wrong on that, and then like obviously the retail version was 6. Or
didn't it have like twice as many computational units or something?
Well, I think it definitely had like twice as much RAM, but
the X dev kit was also a PC dev kit.
Well, right. So, but Cy Goldstein says the X dev kit was 8 teraflops and the X was only 6. Okay, so I knew it was more. I just wasn't sure how much more it was. Okay, well then Face says the X dev unit was 6.6 teraflops and 24 gigs of RAM. So, I either might be wrong, and I said 6.6, but I guess maybe Goldstein knows. But either way, I think it was more. The question is, more than likely, is 13 teraflops probably not going to be in the final retail version because that'd be probably draw a lot of power, probably create a lot of heat. That sounds like a very expensive system that they probably. I would imagine if you're packing 13 teraflops of raw power inside that thing, you're probably looking at a $500 system, which I don't think Sony's going to go for. I think Sony's going to be at 400. So I don't know. I'm thinking the PlayStation 5 probably going to come in at around 10 teraflops or something, like right around there, 10, 11. I don't really
think, off topic, do you really think the PlayStation 5 would be 400? I think it could be 500.
I mean, okay. We talked a little bit about this, but yeah, I mean, the only two price points that make sense are 400 and 500. That's it. Like, can't be cheaper than 400 because it would be impossible, and you can't be higher than 500 because PlayStation's already did that, almost destroyed the brand. So there's only two price points to consider.
And I suppose if Sony doesn't have two SKUs, they can't really get away with it like Microsoft could.
Yeah, like Microsoft, like if for the two SKU strategy to even work, there needs to be significant price difference between the two. If Anaconda's 500 and Lockhart's 400, what's the point? Is $100 really isn't much of a difference.
Are you telling me that the Xbox One S all digital edition doesn't have a good price, Rand?
It absolutely has a horrible price. Who thought launching the S at $250 when you can get all the other systems for $250 was a good idea? And who thought of well, we talked about all this before. Either way, like, it needs to be a big disparity where you would like, okay, so like when you're looking at it as like 500, 300, I'm getting a deal if I'm getting the super expensive one because look how much more expensive it is than the base one. Or the price conscious consumer being like, wow, look how much cheaper this one is. I'm going to get that one, right? So I've kind of always felt with this gen, if it's true, two Xboxes, one PlayStation, it's 300, 400, 500. 300, I mean, that's kind of what my thought process has been. 300, 400, 500.
Yeah.
Is that how it's going to turn out? I don't know. It's interesting. Because I mean, if it has 13 teraflops of power, it's not 400, and so I mean, Sony might be taking $100 loss on that even if they priced that at 5. I'm just saying we don't know really much about it. We don't know what Anaconda is, and even though I've seen some things that point to Microsoft being pretty confident they have the more powerful system, that doesn't necessarily mean they will, right? Or maybe it does.
Yep. I don't know. We don't know for sure. You never know for sure. And I think, like, I don't know. Sony's been pretty smart at pulling bait and switch before, haven't they?
Yeah. Saltiest Gaming, shout out to you, buddy. He says 400, 500, and 600.
I actually think that could be more likely. 400, 500, 600.
400, 500, and 6. So 400 for Lockhart, 500 for PS5, 600 for Anaconda. Woo, that's flowing. That is flying definitely close to the sun there. $600 price point.
I mean,
I understand, like, people buy $1,000 cell phones and whatnot, and it's definitely a different era now than 2013. Definitely different from like 2005 when the 360 and PS3 launched. But still, it's a lot of money.
It is a lot of money, but like I feel like Microsoft and Sony might be confident enough to change the game a bit in regards to that. I don't know. Who knows? I've been wrong about price before. So.
Yes, you have.
Yeah, these are just guesses.
I mean,
I don't know. I don't think even Microsoft knows the price yet.
Valve, I can imagine in their roadmap they have a target price they're looking at, right?
Yeah.
What they think they can build the console and what they think they can get it out for. But in my mind, it's 300, 400, 500. That's kind of where I started. That's like kind of where I kind of started this whole thing with, and that's where I'm taking that pick. I'm not switching it up. 300, 400, 500. Some people say 400 and two 500s. Either way, I think we'll know more about.
Just to contradict you, I'm gonna go with 400.
How dare you?
I'm just gonna go with the 400, 500, 600. Just to contradict.
400, 500, and 600.
That's just a guess. That's just a guess, for God's sake.
But shout out to S-Watch in chat for the super chat. He says, not gonna lie, I spend up to 600 if the value's there. And I'm sure there'd be plenty of people who would if the value was there for $600, but
I would.
I'm not sure it'd be that many people. But then does Microsoft really care? Because they're also doing their PC thing. They have to be
everywhere.
Yeah, so it's like, can they? Maybe they can afford to sell a $600 system and not really worry about the sales of that.
We certainly live in interesting times.
We definitely do. John Early in Super Chat says, do you like Marvel films or DC films? I like both of them, but Captain Marvel doesn't look a good movie. Just my 2 cents. Interesting. Thanks for the support. To talk about gaming than to talk about Marvel and DC. I'm more of a DC fan. Batman's
Same.
my favorite. Batman
Same.
and Superman are my two favorite superheroes. But as
Rand.
far as DC
We are
films,
bros.
the DC films haven't been very good. The Marvel films have been better, but none of them match the epicness of The Dark Knight.
No, they don't.
So
Back.
yeah. Now,
Man, I want to know. I want to know. Actually, while we're on this topic, how mad do Marvel fans get if you tell them that the Dark Knight will always be better than
they
anything?
get mad, man. When you say Dark Knight is way better than Avengers Endgame, they get mad. They get
I
real
mean,
mad.
I haven't seen Endgame, but I can't imagine it's better than Dark Knight.
No,
I
it's
haven't
not.
seen the other.
Endgame is not. Endgame is nowhere even close to the Dark Knight.
Wow. You think they should just get Nolan back? Get him back.
I wish they could. I mean, Endgame was enjoyable, but it wasn't like I've seen IGN be like they put out something today. Should Robert Downey Jr. win an Oscar for Avengers Endgame? And I'm like, hell no. Are you serious? Hell no. The only Oscars Avengers Endgame should get is special effects, and that's about it.
Wow.
Hell no.
You're gonna upset some people, I think.
I know. But you know what's more interesting? Since I'll switch it back to the video game thing and stay within the Marvel DC stuff, right? Where the hell is that Square Enix Marvel game? The Avengers game? Like, wouldn't you think releasing an Avengers game to kind of go along with the Avengers movie that is about to break all the box office records in the world would have been a good idea?
I think, like, well, sure. But I also appreciate the idea that they're taking the time to get it right rather than rush it out to meet the deadline. Because wasn't that the? I mean, I'm not that familiar with Game of Thrones, but wasn't that a whole issue with Game of Thrones where the writer was trying to rush to meet the production speed of the TV show and just couldn't do it?
Mm.
I don't know, but I
Maybe.
expect we'll see that Avengers thing sooner rather than later. Maybe probably at E3.
It's just weird. Like, there's just so much potential to have a quality Avengers game that was being worked on by Crystal Dynamics, Square Enix, the people behind Tomb Raider, and have that.
I am a big fan of Crystal Dynamics.
Okay, but still, like, there's money to be made there, right? Yeah. Like, Avengers potentially could pass Avatar as like the highest grossing movie ever, and there's no game to go alongside. It's just kind of a missed opportunity, in my opinion.
It is, but that's the thing about these licensed movies is that they're almost always garbage because they are rushed out to meet some kind of arbitrary deadline. Like before the Arkham games, we're basically in this sort of dark age of crappy, super crappy licensed everything, and it still happens. Like Platinum's Transformers game was trash, and it really shouldn't have been because it was the right IP, the right dev, and but because they're rushed and they're the margins are worse because you have to pay a licensing fee, which is why I expected World War Z to be bad, but it actually wasn't. So I just prefer that they take the time to get it right rather than rush it out to me.
And then we could have a video game movie like Sonic, right? Okay. Anybody in chat? Okay, I gotta know. I gotta ask this. What do you guys think about Sonic's design in that trailer? Type 1 if you think it was the worst abomination you've seen in your entire life, or type 2 if you actually dig his eyes and his teeth and what he looks like. Because my lord, I couldn't get it. There's some movies that just like are so bad they're good. This looks like it's so bad it's just absolutely horrible in every way.
Speaking about movies that are so bad they're good, I actually kind of like the Mario movie from the 80s.
Yeah, I like the Mario movie too, but I was a kid, or at least I was younger when I saw it. And
I was a kid too. It was basically post-apocalyptic dystopia but in Mario world.
But it seems like most people like it. The 2 saying it's okay, 1 person, 2 people saying 1.
Someone said 3.
3, yeah. Which who knows what that means?
But
shout out to Mega for the super chat, and I guess we should talk about this. Rand, thoughts on the journalist injecting personal ideology political beliefs in their game reviews, like the GameStop reviewer complaining about Days Gone. I think I saw you tweet some people who were complaining about that, right? That
Yeah, she didn't put it in the review. She put it in a tweet after the review.
yeah.
And
Um
I hate anyone trying to tell people how they should use their personal Twitter account. It's like you don't get to control people's lives. They want
yeah.
to tweet about something, they tweet about it, and you shut the fuck up. You know.
I I'm not a fan of political
I
views seeping into a game review, right? And
Me
I'm not really
neither.
I'm not
I hate it too.
and
I don't do it.
you notice like my channel, like my political views don't like I don't talk about politics here. And trust me, like
Much.
I I do lean one side more than the other. So it's not like I don't have a political ideology, but I don't want to be preached to. So I don't want to preach to anybody. Like I kind of want to practice what I do. I hate being preached to, so I'm not going to preach to people. And I really do hate the YouTube channels out there that basically try to, make their careers out of, do you know who they are out there, right? Like the whole anti-social justice warrior stuff. But I just want to read a game review and just tell me if the story is interesting, if the gameplay is actually cool, like the stuff that is about the game. Like I don't care about your personal political ideology. Like leave that stuff out. That doesn't have anything to do in a review, right? Of a video game. Unless, of course, if maybe the game I don't know, if the game really tries to present a political ideology like it's very apparent, maybe talk about that then. But like as far as I can tell, Days Gone really doesn't stray too much into the political aspect. Yes, there's that kind of Radio Free Oregon, where the guy's totally anti-government and he talks all these like crazy conspiracies, like Rush Limbaugh or Glenn Beck or who's the other guy that did Infowars, Alex Jones, right? But for the most part, it's like leave that stuff out of the review and just tell me about the game. But yeah, I did see a lot of people dogpile her for saying like, uh, for certain things like, oh, all the zombies are white in the game, which I don't know if it's explained why they are, but doesn't really matter. I don't really know. And I did see IGN. Remember when like they had the whole Days Gone stuff? They're like another boring white protagonist.
It's funny because I remember people being angry that a lot of the zombies in Resident Evil 5 weren't white.
Mm.
So it's like I don't like getting into any of those issues because I don't consider myself qualified. B, I don't care in games because games are supposed to be fun and politics ain't fun. Politics is a load of crap. All politicians are scum, all of them, no exceptions. And who cares? We're here on this planet for a good time, not a long time. So I try not to inject that stuff. But it's like you say, if if uh if the game is by its nature political and its politics is just dumb or it sucks, then let's talk about it then. But like when you're just forcing it for some reason, I don't know. That's when I just sort of I tune out. But that's why I don't really read. But at the same time, I would never try and tell someone how to do their job. If they want to do that, fine. I just ain't gonna read it. I don't.
Yeah.
I don't. Read social justice warrior reviews or whatever because I ain't interested in it. I ain't interested in that stuff, and I don't want to get involved. And but I wouldn't attack them for it because it's like, do what you want.
Yeah.
All politics suck. All of it.
Yeah. I don't like talking politics because you go down this rabbit hole, and what are they saying? Like when you're on the job, don't talk about religion, politics, and I forget like the other like
Pokemon.
Pokemon. Yeah, just keep that stuff private. Like I don't want to know your personal like beliefs and stuff. But thanks for the super chat. And Eternal Shaddai wants to know after
just talking about it there. Just talking about it in that brief segment is exhausting.
Yeah. Says after the experiment that Microsoft did with Crackdown 3, uses of cloud computing destruction, will we see that usage for all Xbox games next gen with the Ryzen architecture and their Direct 12 or DirectX 12 or whatever?
I don't.
I think they'll use it where it makes sense, but I'm not really sure the power of the cloud was a really what's the word I'm looking for here, Jez?
Silver bullet.
Yeah, I don't really think that helped Crackdown in any way, shape, or form. Like, in fact, I think it dragged down Crackdown, chasing
That much.
after that.
I think like the problem with the cloud power stuff, there's so much potential, but the problem is the only people who can really leverage that potential are the platform holders right now. So basically, you've got Microsoft and Amazon who could potentially make middleware that leverages those systems. So Crackdown 3 basically puts the Havoc physics engine into the cloud. And I actually asked them this question when I interviewed them at Redmond last year. I said, so you're telling me that Havoc, you've transferred Havoc to the cloud to be a cloud-based system. Could that one day be packaged up and bundled and sold as part of an Azure package, like Microsoft announced Azure Game Stack, which is like basically Office 365 for game developers with a bunch of middleware tools that can leverage out of the box? And he was pretty coy about it. He was kind of like, "I focus this Crackdown right now. We have nothing to announce on this stuff. Blah 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 blah." But it does feel like it would be a massive waste for like all that hard work to get Havoc over to the cloud to not use it. So I would like to imagine that in the future, maybe it just becomes a feature of Havoc. Like if you're licensing Havoc to use in your game on from Microsoft, because Havoc is owned by Microsoft, and most games or a lot of games use it. I don't know if it's most games, but a lot of games use Havoc for their physics. Like maybe you can just pay like an extra bit and get like cloud-based physics with extra servers to power all that stuff. But it's like it has to be worth it because you're creating like overheads there. Like when you add in servers for destruction, that's additional expenses that needn't exist. I don't know how much more expensive it is to spin up a server and then evaporate it when it's not needed, but it does feel like a needless amount of power for what you get in return. And Crackdown has not been the best example of how to get that stuff working. So I want to say I hope we see it again, Rand. I hope we do see it again, but I just hope that it's utilized in a better game.
Yeah, and
Because Crackdown just wasn't it.
maybe they should pick a developer that's going to stick it through the entire time to build it instead of one that's
Yeah,
going to get bought out by a company and then you have nothing to show for it. So when you actually do launch your product, you have more than 3 maps and 2 modes, and you can actually invite people to play together and not have to patch it in 3 months later when literally nobody plays the mode anymore, and you have 2 different app launchers for the game, so nobody even knows Wrecking Zone even exists. What a colossal screw up for Crackdown 3's like, if you were to say the worst case scenario and go through the list of all the things that could possibly go wrong, literally everything went wrong for that game.
yeah.
Right?
The fact that it even came out is a bit of a miracle.
Yeah. I wonder how
I
much
think the fact that it came out at all gives me some hope though for the future
Yeah.
of the franchise. The fact that they bothered to release it shows that they at least want to keep the franchise alive. Because if they'd cancelled it, that would have been the end of Crackdown.
Yeah. We have
Because like you can't cancel Crackdown 3 and then make another Crackdown 3. That had to be Crackdown 3.
this is episode 90. So we're getting close to the big 100 episode, and
OMG.
I know, I just wanted to shout out that we have like 420 people here live and 164 likes. Make sure you guys hit the like button if you're enjoying the podcast. It's super easy to do. It's free. Doesn't cost a lick. Just hit that button, and me and Jez would greatly appreciate it if you're enjoying the show. Hell, hit the dislike button if you hate the show or hate me and Jez. Just do something. All right. So John Early says in the super chat, thanks for the support, buddy. He says, do you find it strange that we haven't gotten a video game with the DC Comics character since Batman: The Enemy Within? Is Warner Media and DC gun shy with the video games? I don't think they're gun shy. I think just video games take a long time to make nowadays. Like you can't turn them around in 2 years anymore. So when you have Rocksteady creating their masterpieces, where before you could turn it in 2 years, now they take 4 to 5. So And so, you got supposed their, next game coming, and then there's the rumored Warner Brothers Montreal making a Batman game. I think the reason we haven't seen it is just for what I said. It just takes time to make games. What do you think, Jez?
Yeah, I think it's coming. There's no way like they'll let the Arkham IP die because it's too damn good, you know.
Yeah.
So it's just gonna take time, I think.
It's just gonna take time. That's all it is. Lamarcus says, "We like your Rand, but Phil's jeans has to be an 8K or it's a fail. Maybe Phil's jeans will be the secret sauce, and everybody buys an
Wow.
Xbox." Wasn't there like some secret thing in the X? The X, it was like an inscription of Master Chief or something.
Oh yeah, they put a little Master Chief figurine inside the X for some reason.
Yeah.
Hopefully they do that with the next one. So like when I fix it, do their teardown. Some cool little thing for them to find.
Yeah, we want to know what the secret sauces are.
Wow.
But you know what? I figure let's get back on track. Talk about Xbox E3 and the rumors that came out. I know you love this rumor, Jazz, because we've talked about this before about Crytek,
Okay.
Xbox. Where Where's okay? First off, it's like these rumors spread up from like everywhere, right? It's like weeds that grow in someone's backyard. This is new rumor today. Pluck this one out. New rumor over here. Get this one. Last week it was what the entire show leaked, right? Remember with Ori tubing 2020 and Brink and all. Remember that we talked about that in the last show. Like that was that rumor, and then this rumor suddenly. Microsoft has 3 studios. One's Crytek, one's IO Interactive, and one's Relic. It's like, man, how do these people have all this information? And I think it came from a Facebook fan page called
Facebook Xbox Insiders Community
Xbox
or something like that.
Insiders Community, right?
Did you make that?
No, I did not make that. I made a video about this subject because I did see a lot of Xbox fans really salivate at the thought of Microsoft acquiring Crytek even more than Relic or IO Interactive, which I think there's strong possibilities Microsoft could acquire either one of those 2 studios, maybe even both. Obviously, I don't know. I'm not Klober on, I'm not Jason Schreier. I don't have all those insider sources that tell me, hey, this is happening. I mean, I just remember last year, Ninja Theories being bought was a secret. Compulsion being bought was a secret. In Exile being bought was a secret. Sure, the Obsidian stuff was leaked early, which was not a surprise. The Playground stuff leaked early because of a government website, edition. The initiative thing that they're doing was kind of rumored because they hired Daryl Gallagher to do something, and there was talk about a Santa Monica studio. So some of that stuff just happens, but and the Undead Labs thing was a secret. Nobody knew, right? That's just is the case in some of these things. So I just find it weird that, here's a fan page. It's like, yep, they got IO and they got Relic and they got Crytek. So I'm going to ask your thoughts on it. What do you think is the likelihood? And does it make sense for Microsoft to acquire Crytek?
Now, the Crytek was the interesting one that spawned a lot of the most interesting discussions because even though Crytek's Crytek's financials aren't looking that great, and they haven't really made any staggeringly amazing games recently. There could potentially be a sort of valid purchase reason in the sense that Microsoft would acquire the CryEngine. So, and we talked about this a bit, and there's some confusion about whether or not they would be in breach of contract because at the moment they are licensing the CryEngine to Amazon as part of Amazon's Lumberyard package, which is basically a competitor to GameStack. One of the things that is mysteriously missing from Azure GameStack is an engine. Like there's a bunch of middleware. There's like analytics services in PlayFab that deliver multiplayer matches and stuff like that. So there is like a whole bunch of services, but the fact that an engine is missing is kind of kind of conspicuous, and I've actually spoke to some people at Microsoft about this, whether it's weird that they don't have an engine for GameStack, and they sort of played it down, but I still think it's weird.
They should buy Unity
Yeah,
and put
I
Unity.
Unity would be way better for a range of reasons. One of which being that Unity is cross-platform, which totally matches up with Microsoft's cross-platform vision. It also it's really robust for porting games across devices and systems. So it's Unity is a great engine to use if you want to make a game for Android, Switch, Xbox, PlayStation, PC on a single code base, and then you can use stuff like Xamarin and stuff like that to port it even further. Now, I ain't a dev, I ain't techie, so I know some of the details are probably incorrect there. Unity would be the smarter option, but that said, if Crytek is in as much financial trouble as is rumored, that could potentially make them a pretty cheap acquisition, possibly.
Mm.
I mean, we don't know, and it wouldn't be for the IP. It would be for the CryEngine.
Yes.
And we don't know for sure if they would be in breach of contract with Amazon if they did do that buyout, and whether Microsoft would have to pay some money to Amazon to get out of that contract. But Microsoft hit $1 trillion market valuation last week, so I think they could probably afford it. But
they ain't buying Crytek for the Rise IP and the Crisis IP. That's for sure. That would just be like an added bonus, because if Microsoft really cared that much about Rise, they would have came to an agreement after the first game with Crytek in some way, shape, or form. Like if it was that important that Rise 2 needed to exist, it would exist, right? But this would be more about buying the CryEngine so they can pair it up with GameStack, and then the studios would be an added bonus and whatever they would make games. But they have like 500 employees. They have like 3 studios, one in Germany, one in Istanbul. So
people would lose their jobs if Microsoft.
I would imagine they would downsize them because they wouldn't need those studios. But I know there's a lot of like Xbox fans out there who want Rise 2 to happen. Like
I want Rise 2 to happen, man.
If you were to run a poll right now, Jazz, since you're way more popular to me, more people love you. I'm hated, right? If you were to run this,
what's this emo stuff?
If you were to run this a poll on Twitter and ask if you could choose one Xbox game from this gen to get a sequel, and you included a poll, and it was Rise, Sunset Overdrive, Recore, and Quantum Break, right? Those kind of 4 games. I would guarantee you the winner by a huge margin would be Rise.
Really?
I think so. I absolutely. You know what? You should run this poll right now and see what the answer would be.
Okay, let's try that.
I think a lot of people look at Rise and be like, "Man, there's so much potential in that franchise, and if they just kind of got rid of what didn't work and just kind of improved the things that did, you could have something special. You could have an Xbox game in a genre that really isn't, served very well, right?" And I think that's what's kind of missing. So like a lot of Xbox fans be like, "Oh, we get a sequel to this game. It could be improved, like how much like Uncharted 1 to Uncharted 2 was, right?" And I think it would. I think like that's the one. Like a lot of Xbox fans feel that's the one that got away was Rise.
I'd vote Recore.
You'd vote Recore. I would vote.
Oh, actually, I don't know. Quantum Break. I'd vote Recore or Quantum Break before Rise, personally. But
see, there's a lot of people saying Recore 2, Sunset Overdrive 2. I mean,
I just tweeted out. So go and drop your votes on it on my Twitter. I'll just link it in the chat one. Okay. Drop your votes on it.
Yeah, let's get some votes on this. I'm voting here. I'm voting Quantum Break. I need to see a sequel to that game. So my vote right now is Quantum Break. There's 8 votes, 38% Rise, 36% Sunset Overdrive. So let's see if I'm right on this one. Let's see if I think.
I think you underestimate how popular Sunset is, especially after Spider-Man.
Yeah, maybe a little bit. Maybe I do. Maybe I do. But this is good. This is a good poll. So like I want to see the results. But there's a lot of that. Like they hear Crytek, they know Rise is the IP's own. So they think, oh my God, Rise 2, amazing. But that wouldn't be why Microsoft, it would be an added bonus. And honestly, if they, let's say that happened in a hypothetical situation, would they even do Rise 2, Jez? Or would they just do something new? I know a lot of people would be disappointed if you own Crytek and the IP now and you didn't do it, but what did you think would make more sense?
I don't know. I would prefer Quantum Break personally, but I don't think you get Quantum Break 2 without spending the money on the talent. Like, can you imagine it without Martin Hatch? That guy ain't cheap. And Sean Ashmore as well. Like,
Yeah,
these are like
that's true.
Hollywood grade actors, which, inflate the price. I mean, they're worth the money, but like the game has to, match. So I think like Quantum Break is probably riskier than maybe Recore or Rise even.
Quantum
So
Break would be more risky. I mean, we basically are getting Quantum Break 2. It's called Control. And
yeah, it's
they basically took Beth Wilder from Quantum Break and they repackaged her. And it's going to be interesting to see people's reaction and response to Control when it comes out later this year. And not to compare it to how people thought about Quantum Break, because they seem very similar. So you know what? Obviously, we didn't include the number one option, the fifth choice. Unfortunately, Twitter doesn't let you include stuff. That'd be Super Lucky's Tale. I mean, everybody wants a Super Lucky's Tale, right? Two, a sequel to that
kids and
gen.
parents do. I
So
think you'd be surprised how many people actually like pick up games like Disney Adventures, Disneyland Adventures, and stuff like that. There's a reason they remastered those games because like kids love it.
yeah. Um.
Super
So
Lucky's
I
Tale
mean,
was supposed to sort of sit in that demographic. Whether it succeeded or not, I don't know.
the monkey says, "What about Killer Instinct?" I think Killer Instinct 2 is
Oh,
happening, and,
I
and
think
I
that's
think that's a
definite.
launch title for the next gen system,
I would
right?
be shocked if Killer Instinct 2 doesn't come back. Killer Instinct
Yeah.
doesn't come back because Killer Instinct 1 was successful for what it was, I think. Like the fact that they made it free to play and they added like there was a lot of monetization thrown on top, I guess. Um there's that game probably was successful and it served like tens of millions of players. I mean whether they're active players or not, I don't know. But there's no reason why they can't actually make that IP successful because the fighting game genre is pretty underserved, I would say,
Mm.
especially like that type of fighting game.
So right now, looks like Rand's right. 156 votes, 30% Rise, 29% Sunset Overdrive, 25% Quantum Break, 9% Recore.
Yeah, but you just
Yeah.
skewed the vote. You skewed the vote,
Yeah.
boy.
I
Yeah.
haven't even retweeted this yet, which I'm going to do right now. So let's retweet this and see how. It doesn't really look like anybody wants a Recore game. So I think people just want Insomniac to make a game like, well, yeah, like Insomniac was, let's get them. But so we both kind of agree that if Microsoft were to get Crytek, it would be for the engine and game stack, not necessarily for the IP. But obviously, we got to talk about the likelihood of that actually happening.
Low.
And I'm gonna say, I honestly think it's just a fan page that's like looking for attention and is just kind of repeating, you know, wishful thinking and stuff people have talked about, whether at Reset or Era or the Discord of Reset Era, where people have mentioned certain things and they kind of like throw it against the wall. You know what I mean? So that's kind of like my take. I don't think Crytek's. I think there's more of a chance IO Interactive and Relic happen than Crytek, but I could be 100% wrong. Maybe it does happen. I would imagine you would agree with me on this one, Jez.
I agree. Wholeheartedly, buddy.
Yeah. Would you? Now, what about the other two, IO Interactive and Relic? If you had to stake your claim on one of those two happening, which one would you pick?
Interactive or Relic? Well, Relic's owned by Sega, so IO Interactive, obviously.
So IO would be the easier way. I don't
I don't know
know. I
why
mean,
people keep saying Relic. I mean, Sega would have to sell Relic for that to happen. And I know Relics had mixed success over the years, and they're doing very well from what I hear with Age of Empires 4. But um, would Sega be so willing to sell them? You know, if Age of Empires 4 does well, because they can just be like, you know what, we'll keep them and keep siphoning Microsoft's money away. Because obviously Sega's going to get a chunk of that at the success of Age of Empires 4, right?
Yeah.
Well, depending on what contract was signed, I guess. But you know, I would. I don't know. I don't see them selling so simply.
I really don't see a lot of acquisitions from Microsoft this year. Definitely not as many as last year. What did they have? 5, and they built a studio, and then they added 2 more at XO18. I don't think you'll have a scenario where it's like 3 studios or 5 studios. I think you might get 2, maybe, and it might only just be 1. Maybe it's 0.
Zero.
Maybe like they come and they're like they don't even mention anything because like these deals could fall through. Maybe like you never know. So
Mm.
and Di says, "What about Microsoft or Sony buying THQ Nordic?" I don't know. Why would either Microsoft or Sony want to buy a publisher?
That's not gonna.
I mean, yeah, like does Sony need anything that THQ Nordic has? I
Well,
don't think so.
there's something about THQ Nordic which people don't often know about. Is that THQ Nordic own a CD printing facility, and they actually print a lot of the games that get released in Europe. So a lot of the business that happens for THQ Nordic isn't necessarily the games it sells. It's the CDs the DVD, Blu-rays it prints for and the distribution network they have, which is
Mhm.
not a lot of people seem to know that, but that's I think possibly a bigger part of its business than its actual game business because it does printing for all sorts of games, like even Nintendo, I think. But
No, Sunset Overdrive's winning the vote now. How could this be?
poor Rand.
How could
Guess
this
you're wrong, buddy.
be? Yeah, I guess so.
How's it feel to be wrong?
THQ Nordic has 89 IPs. Yeah, and they're pretty much all worthless.
Hey,
I said it. I
oh,
said it.
you telling me that you're not a fan of? Man, I can't even think of
I
anything.
mean, I'm just saying, like, would be worth? Would be like one you need to have. Darksiders 3 or
Darksiders is their
Darksiders.
the biggest IP they've got,
Yeah,
surely, right?
I can't even think of. They just kind of bought a bunch of IPs that nobody. Microsoft has a bunch of their owned IPs that they don't even bother using. Saints Row. Well, I mean, they Volition almost killed the franchise with their last game, even though it wasn't a Saints Row game. I don't know. I don't really think THQ Nordic is worth buying because I don't really think um they own like stuff. And Calyx says like, oh well, they own the Metro games. They bought the studio. No, I believe 4A is independent, aren't they, Jez?
4A is independent.
Yeah, 4A is independent. It's just they have a publishing deal for the Metro games. So moving on from that discussion, you want to talk? You want to trash talk a little bit, Jez?
Sure, why not?
You want to trash talk? So I thought this was really funny. So Microsoft changed or at least talked about the new community, or what do they call it? Their community standards on Xbox Live.
Ah,
And
yes.
I made a video just kind of talking about the trash talk aspect because it was funny because they gave specific examples of what is acceptable trash talk and what isn't. And it was funny because I imagine a scenario where 10 people at Xbox basically reserve meeting room A in studio B from the hours of 2 to 5 to brainstorm examples of this, and it just tickles me of just okay,
Ah,
you know what I mean? Because this is how this happened, right?
yeah.
So, some examples,
Oh,
and
have you got them? Oh,
I got
brilliant.
them up. I got them up.
Let's see them. Let's see them.
Get destroyed. Can't believe you thought you were on my level. Now, this is examples of acceptable trash talk.
I don't
That was
know.
some serious potatoing, Jazz. Get wrecked.
I'm kind of triggered by that actually. I don't find that acceptable.
Only reason you went positive was you spent all game camping. Try again, kid. I like the kid at
It's
the
hard.
try again, kid.
That's pretty
Cheap
hardcore.
win. Come at me when you actually can drive without running cars off the road.
Thing.
And that sucked. Get good and then come back when your KD's over 1. Oh, shots fired.
Ooh.
Your KD's less than 1. Oh, you're trash. You're trash. So that's their ideas of acceptable trash talk. Now, the ones for unacceptable or harassment, as they call it, which could get you in trouble on Xbox Live if you get reported. Get insert sexual threat. Can't believe you thought you were on my level. Hey, insert
What is
profanity.
sexual threat? Like,
I would imagine
get
get effed. Yeah.
Uh,
Right.
I didn't even think
Hey,
of that.
hey, insert profanity. That was some serious potato aim. Get wrecked, trash. Only reason you
So
went
you're not allowed to
positive.
swear?
It says hey profanity. I would imagine it's like hey f face or something. I can't use the actual swear words because YouTube will then demonetize the entire podcast and the video won't be sent out to more people than it should. YouTube's very weird about swear words. I think you can say one and that's it, and any more than that you can't say.
Do you know
So
why that is? It's because that's the way it works on TV. Like advertisers give you one swear word or something.
yeah,
Ooh.
so that's okay. So hey, insert profanity. That was some serious potato aim. Get wrecked, trash. Only reason you went positive was you spent all game camping. KYS kid, which KYS stands for kill yourself. Cheap win, totally expected from a insert racial slur. And you know what? Uh, being as somebody who's been in the lobbies of Halo 2 and Gears of War, racial slurs are thrown around like they're going out of style. I mean, it is pretty
Yeah, that
embarrassing
sucks.
sometimes. And I always use party chat now, so I don't actually go in game chat. So I can't imagine, uh, what people say now. But I can only imagine it hasn't gotten better because I've seen clips of like people playing Overwatch, especially girls, and like the crap that gets thrown at them. And then you suck. Get out of my country. Maybe I'll let you back in when your KD's over 1.
Who says that?
I don't know. I mean, yeah, I don't know. So that's some of the acceptable trash talk. We did have a question earlier before the show started about game sharing, though, and if game sharing is now against Microsoft's terms of service
You
because there
mean
were
because this is all part of an update of the terms of service, right?
yes, yeah, their new
Yeah.
like community guideline stuff. So basically, the new
Well,
terms of service.
first of all, I do think like it's good that they're trying to add some clarity to the way they ban people because oftentimes people will get banned and then I'll get a DM saying like, "Oh, I don't know why I got banned. Can you help me?" Because apparently I can help people like that.
You got
And
power, Jess. You got power.
yeah, apparently. Um, but then you find out like it's because they're actually really really shit to someone. So like I think it's good that Microsoft's at least being honest with the way that it's going to ban your ass if you a racist and stuff like that. And it sort of removes the excuses that people might have, like, oh, I didn't know. But it's right there now, right there, in plain English.
Hmm.
Oh,
But so someone who was watching was concerned that game sharing would now be you'd get banned for it. Now there is a section in there that basically says you can't give your account to anybody else, which is essentially how game sharing works. If I wanted to game share with Jez, I would give him my account. He'd sign in as me. He'd set his home console to me, or set that console as my home console. I sign in. Jez would give me his info. Basically, I sign in as Jez. Yada yada yada. I think most people know how this works, right? But in the terms of service, and it's said this forever, you're not supposed to do that. You're not supposed to give your account to somebody else. You're not supposed to give your passwords to somebody else and all that stuff. So it's always been there. The thing is, Microsoft, now you never say never, but I do not think Microsoft is ever going to actually enforce game sharing. like people actually giving your account, like friends sharing accounts and stuff like that. I don't think they'll ever enforce that and be like, you know what, you've been game sharing with your friend for 5 years. You've been on this platform for 14 years. Sorry, you're completely banned. I don't think that's going to happen.
Yeah.
Now, I can't
I
say it
agree.
never will happen because who knows, but I just think nothing's changed though. This isn't like a new thing, is what I'm saying. And I think Jez agrees with me.
I do.
Yes. And I mean, you game share, right? Like you have a console because you're constantly between Germany and UK, so you got two consoles, or you have one with your girlfriend, right, or something. So like, there's people that do it within families. Like, is you know what I mean?
Yeah, I
So
mean, basically, like for me, it's I game share with my own Xbox back in England. So like, I have an Xbox in England, so I that's my home console in England. And then when I'm in Germany, I log on via the cloud. So I have my Xbox set up in two places basically. But that's a legitimate usage because I'm like using it in two places. But how could they prove that someone else wasn't doing that? It's not an easy thing to enforce, even if they wanted to enforce it. So
yeah.
I don't
So I would say just keep on doing what you're doing. Don't change anything. Don't worry, you're not going to get banned for game sharing. But moving on. Maybe we should have talked about this after the rumored Xbox acquisitions, but we'll talk about it now. Epic continues to piss off the PC master race. I swear to
yeah.
God, every single week a new story comes out about Epic, and the PC master race just gets so upset. So upset. I've never seen the PC like I you always thought the PC master race obviously thinks they're better than everybody, right? Because they have rigs that can run every game at 120 frames and stuff. But suddenly, because here's someone who's daring to kind of throw money and go against Steam. A lot of them are throwing temper tantrums. Well, I can't play Borderlands on Steam. Well, right? That's pretty much how it is.
Borderlands not coming to Steam either.
Borderlands 3 is Epic exclusive for 6 months,
Damn.
right? So it's funny because you just see people crying. Now, I don't know much about Steam and Epic Games because I play in the console. I don't care what happens in the PC space. It's just funny to me to watch these PC guys just, rattle their sabers, right? And just get so upset about all this stuff. And while Epic might have made their biggest splash yet, and they bought Psyonix, and now they own basically Rocket League,
Yeah.
which surprised the shit out of me. Now, we teased this early in the episode, and you kind of said that maybe Rocket League. What'd you say, that it wasn't that important? Because we talked about, like, man, wouldn't that work better if like Xbox had bought them, kind of fit their Game Pass strategy? But you don't think the Rocket League and this was like a good thing, or forget what you said at the beginning of the show. You want to explain?
I was just thinking, like, I don't think Rocket League is as big as it used to be, and I think like people often they look at a game like Minecraft and think like, oh, well, why doesn't Microsoft buy more service type games like that? Because like they did so much with Minecraft. The thing about Minecraft is Minecraft lends itself well to lots of other Microsoft initiatives. Like it's it's relatively lightweight as a game, which means it lends itself well to being ported over to new Microsoft technologies. Like that, basically, Minecraft is the ultimate UWP game where it works on everything, Switch, phones, blah 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 blah. So it fit that vision. Whereas Rocket League's built on Unreal Engine, so it doesn't really fit that aspect of Microsoft's vision. And also, um, it doesn't really have any other applications. Like you've got Minecraft Education Edition as well, which sort of fits Microsoft's like their education platform, trying to get into more schools and stuff like that. And like Minecraft as an educational tool is actually really useful because they like some of the stuff they do with Minecraft Education Edition is crazy. Like they build like entire like historical buildings in Minecraft and let the kids explore it, or they they code, teach kids how to code and all that sort of stuff. Can't really do that with Rocket League. So I don't think like Rocket League really fits. I think Microsoft would rather sell Rocket League than own Rocket League, basically.
Hmm. That's interesting. That's an interesting take. Does it make sense for Epic to buy them?
Well, Epic has infinite money. So I think what Epic's MO is basically right now is let's ride the wave of Fortnite cash money while we can and buy as many of these, sort of cash cows to make our store more credible. Because one thing Microsoft didn't do for the Windows Store was actually make it worth using. There's nothing in there. There's nothing in there that you'd want to use over Steam. And like a few games that might make people use it, like Halo, come to Steam. So and that ship has sailed ultimately. And like we've talked about on this podcast before, how we expect Sea of Thieves to eventually hit Steam, possibly, maybe.
Yeah, I mean, I
It
expect Halo Infinite to be on Steam day one. You
Yeah,
know?
I expect Halo Infinite to be on Steam as well. And I think Microsoft sees the value in the goodwill of supporting the core PC community, and that's where they want to play. They want to play on Steam, and that's why they get so mad about it. Um, the thing is, though, it's like what's more amusing, I guess, from a console player, mainly a console player's perspective, is that people try and compare it to the console war, but it's like you can't really compare it to the console war because you can play on the Epic Game Store using the same PC that you use for Steam. Like you don't have to buy a whole new console for it, like you have to do with PlayStation and Xbox. So there's it feels like more of a first world problem to have to double click something than something to get really pissed about. You know, I don't know. I mean, I
Mhm.
ain't a fan of the Epic Game Store. Like the store itself kind
It's
of
pretty,
sucks. Like the
yeah.
Windows Store is
As a store, it's horrible, right?
yeah, it's just horrible to use. It's kind of slow. There's no features in it and all that sort of stuff. But it's like when I play a game on the Windows Store. Like if I play Minecraft, I play the Bedrock edition that's on the Windows Store. I click on Minecraft in my start menu. I don't think about where I got the package from. I just play the game. So, but I suppose like it's different with Epic Game Launcher because you have to leave it running or whatever. But I don't know. I just don't really see it as a big deal like I do with the console exclusive. Like when the Tomb Raider game, Rise of the Tomb Raider, was Xbox exclusive, you can see why people are pissed, right?
Of
Because you have
course.
two hardcore Tomb Raider fans who were expecting that sequel to come to their console, and now it's delayed for a year because Microsoft arbitrarily decided to spend a whole bunch of money on it. That just feels crappy. And for people who don't want to pick up an Xbox just to play one game, I mean, you can see why they'd be angry about it. But like when it comes to the Epic Game Store, all you have to do is double click on the bloody launcher.
I think, but
There's no big
people
deal.
just want to play their games from Steam, and I don't think Epic, like, say, I don't know much about the stores, but I'm pretty sure I constantly hear like Epic Games doesn't have cloud saves and stuff like that, or like achievements and stuff, which I don't think people
Yeah,
really cared that much about. But
store sucks. It does suck. There's no debate about that. But it's also brand new, and it'll probably, hopefully,
I mean,
get better.
this studio purchase couldn't have been cheap.
No,
Like them buying Psionics and whatever probably they're doing for the future. There's talk that, oh, they're going to remove Rocket League from Steam, and they had to like go back and kind of clarify that no
Do you
decision was
want do you want
made
me
and
to
stuff.
read you the exact quote we were given by Epic Games?
Sure.
Now, this is another thing. This was another thing that Epic was really, really annoying about because first of all, you had the Verge reported that the Verge reported that Steam was going to lose Rocket League. The Verge reported that in their headline, and the reason they reported that is because in the original press release, it said, and I'm paraphrasing here, but it says, for the meantime, Rocket League will be available on Steam. Now, you don't say for the meantime if you mean forever. You say for the meantime, that means for the moment, for now, it'll stay on Steam, right? So Epic and a bunch of other outlets took that to mean The Verge, by the way, took that to mean. Sorry, I'm getting tired now. The Verge took that to mean that the game was going to be removed from Steam, and I think rightfully so because of the language they used in that in their bloody press release. But then when we reported that, we got a DM from Epic Games saying, "Oh no, we haven't announced that we're removing it from Steam. We have no plans to remove it from Steam. Blah 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 blah. Can you please email us for an updated press release?" We're like, "Oh, okay, that's cool. We're sorry about the mistake. Blah blah blah. Feeling all bad. People calling us clickbait on Twitter and stuff for getting it wrong." But the thing is, what Epic Games said to us still doesn't say to me that it won't be removed from Steam because I'm trying to find the email. Where the hell is it? So if I just search Rocket League, basically the language in their updated press release is kind of like leaving it open. So it
Right.
says here, Epic Games and Psyonix are still both in the process of closing the acquisition. A lot is still to be determined, but we can say that Rocket League remains available for purchase on Steam, and existing owners will continue to be able to play Rocket League on Steam moving forward. Nowhere in that press release do they explicitly say that it'll be safe from being removed from Steam. But
Yeah.
I think it's still going to be removed from Steam,
Yeah.
as much as they want to spin that it isn't. It's
I
going
think
to be
so
removed
too.
from Steam.
But I mean, these companies lie. And speaking of liars, you want to talk about Randy Pitchford?
Oof, that was another one this week.
What is going on? Like, so they had the Borderlands 3 gameplay reveal 2 days ago, right on the 1st.
Yeah.
And the game, like, it looks cool. It looks Borderlands. I know a lot of people are looking forward to it. I think it's coming out September 12th. Stay away from that date if you're other publishers because that game's going to sell bucket loads. But they talked about, or at least he talked about on stage about how there's like no pay to win stuff and there's no loot boxes and there's no microtransactions. But then, like, Game Informer ran a story, but it was like, well, Randy Pitchford says there's no microtransactions, but we can confirm that that you can buy cosmetics. And he just went on a tirade against Game Informer, right? Just complete like basically trying to say that cosmetic microtransactions aren't microtransactions. That it's completely different than loot boxes and pay to win aspects. And I'm just sitting there listening to him being like, we aren't redefining what the definition of a microtransaction is, Randy. You're lying through your teeth. Nobody should believe the guy who basically made Aliens Colonial Marines. You're a liar. Right? The fact exists that you admitted you can buy cosmetic purchases in Borderlands 3 so players can make their character look super cool. What is that? Oh, it's a small transaction within the game that costs a small amount of money. That's a microtransaction. It doesn't matter if it's not a loot box, or it doesn't matter if it's not some pay to win stuff. It is inherently a microtransaction. And I'm just
what makes it worse is because it made us look bad. Because again, we went to the Borderlands preview in LA, and our writer, shout out to Jennifer, she was literally told explicitly, no bullshit like microtransactions. They were literally told that, paraphrasing, no bullshit like microtransactions, no microtransactions. And she literally ran with the headline, there will be no subheading, no microtransactions in Borderlands 3. Because that's what they said. And like it or not, cosmetic DLC, which I personally don't have a single problem with, is still a microtransaction, my dude.
mm-hmm.
I
mean, if you want to get into the idea of like microtransactions, the cosmetic ones are better, in my opinion, than like the loot boxes and stuff. But a microtransaction is a microtransaction. You can't just hand wave and say we don't have any because it's cosmetic only. You know what I mean? So it's I just don't understand. Like but I guess I shouldn't like be surprised. I mean, look what he did about Aliens Colonial Marines. Like, and I don't know if you saw what else came out today. The guy who did the voice for Claptrap isn't coming back to do the voice for Claptrap because you heard about this, right? Because Epic, because they wouldn't pay him this time. Because so the guy who did the voice of Claptrap, was like a Gearbox executive on the marketing side. So basically, he did it. He volunteered to do it, and he was part of it. His salary. He didn't get paid. He basically did Claptrap, but he no longer works at Gearbox. So when he approached, or I forget how exactly the story goes down, but basically when he approached them or they approached him about returning his the voice of Claptrap and actually saying I want to get paid for this, they said no. They're not going to pay him.
That's
And
so shit.
he tweeted out that because you can find his tweets, and he had this great shot at Gearbox and Randy, specifically Randy. It was like, now I'm not one to say what, how Gearbox should run its business, but maybe 2K should have taken that $12 million payout for Borderlands and put it into the Gearbox like community bank, basically implying that the money just goes straight to Pitchford and he does whatever he wants with it, like the rumors kind of suggest. You know what I mean?
Yep.
So
I just don't like Randy. He's slimy.
he's a used car salesman, dude.
Yeah, he refuses to accept any criticism whatsoever, and he spins like no man's business, And really annoys me that people defend him because it's kind of like you can't just change the definition of words. You can't do it. You just can't do it. You can't change the definition of words, and that's what he tries to do in his spin. And the fact of the matter is, I don't have a problem with cosmetic microtransactions. If that helps fund, games like uh Titanfall 2 and other games that have like really good models where they sell my cosmetic stuff, which doesn't affect gameplay, I do not have a problem with that. And I don't think most people have a problem with that nowadays. It's just seen as a trade-off of a game having a live service. And I like games to have a live service because I like them to live on, as long as possible. But you have to call a spade, and it is a microtransaction. You can't say no microtransactions because you don't like the word because EA's made it dirty. And then complain when press report the bloody facts of the matter.
Yep.
So I just don't like the guy. He's like, he always does stuff like this. And it was like the whole thing about Battleborn going free to play. He denied that.
And then it went free to play. Yeah.
Like it just really annoys me. The guy does, and I don't know him personally. I don't know his motivations, and I don't know any of the allegations whether they're true or not. But the way he attacked press just really rubbed me the wrong way.
Oh man, he went after Game Informer hard.
Yeah, it causes me it caused me a problem because I had Jen's article saying there was no microtransactions in the game because that's what they bloody said. They literally said the word no microtransactions.
Yep.
I had to go and basically amend that article and make sure the socials were removed, and it caused me a problem because they were lying.
Right. Well, yeah. That's pretty much it for the show, but we're going to take some questions as usual at the end here. So if you guys have any questions, make sure to type them in chat. We appreciate like the 450 of you guys that were here. Before you guys leave, if you want to, hit the like button if you're listening to this now, or if you're listening to it later, we'd appreciate it. And thanks to everybody who's, downloading this on iTunes and choose to listen to it that way.
Love you.
Christopher Hart says, wait, what about the PS5 specs talk? I mean, we talked about that super early in the podcast. Like, there's rumors out there that the dev kit is 13 teraflops. It has some secret sauce, according to Lisa of AMD. We don't know what the final retail specs are, but that's kind of what is being passed around currently. I'm sure we'll I think it's only a matter of time before the actual specs come out. I think it's only a matter of time, and I think Sony wanted to get ahead of that because as people are saying, like, dev kits are starting to show up at all these different studios because the PS5's launching at the end of next year. Same thing with the next Xbox, which is why Microsoft is going to probably reveal everything at E3. So we talked, some of you might have missed that, but we talked about that a little bit earlier. Give me a smile, says Randy. Why you're always holding a cupcake? Oh, so this picture is not a cupcake. That is ice cream, soft serve ice cream. That's why the picture says Randall soft serve. Graphic God Jay Williams made this for me after E3 2016 when there was a picture of me holding the ice cream thing. So it was just kind of a, like a, what do you call it, caricature of myself from that picture. So that's why they're there. Utalis wants to know, where are the Bungie developers going? So yeah, that's another thing that happened. Just, I don't know if you saw, but a bunch of Bungie, like longtime Bungie employees and huge leads on Destiny, have left the company.
Yes, I did see that. It does seem like they're. I think Asher wrote about that. Like my
What do you think's
dude.
going on?
I think some of the Bungie staff are just sort of concerned about the future, probably thinking like, "Woo, we should get out before bad things happen." Maybe, which you can appreciate, right? It hasn't been. It's been tumultuous.
Yeah,
That be the right word to say? It's been a tumultuous time for those dudes, and it sucks, man, because I'm not a Destiny fan, and I think people who listen to this podcast are probably aware of that. I don't know if you're a big Destiny fan.
I mean,
I,
I like,
I,
not really. I mean, I played them. I'm done with Destiny. I'm not touching Destiny 3 whatsoever. So
it's not from lack of trying that I don't like Destiny. It's like you can see the amount of passion that went into that game, and it almost feels like they were really sort of driven by the idea of meeting these sort of service type game goals. They basically spawned a whole genre as well. This sort of quasi MMO. It's not quite an MMO. It's almost an MMO. And then you've got like games like Division, which sort of picked it up and ran with it. And well, Anthem. We all know what happened to Anthem.
mm-hmm.
But we can see that, you know, for better or worse, Destiny has been a pretty pivotal game this gen. But without big publisher backing and a new project to work on, it seems like there is some trepidation about what the future could hold for that company. I don't
Yeah.
know if that's warranted. I don't know if it's you know I don't know if it means bad things will happen but we have to compare it to other situations where this has happened. And after Mass Effect 3, BioWare started bleeding its top tier talent like crazy as well.
Hey,
And
Jez,
then
I gotta go upstairs, check on the dog real quick. So
yo,
I'll be right back.
I'll take some questions in that case. My dudes and dudettes, maybe if there's any dudettes listening. Give us some questions and we'll get them answered for you. I am starting to get drunk. I've drank a lot of whiskey this podcast. And I want you to know that I love you all very, very much. I do this podcast because it's fun, not because I get any money for it, but because you guys are awesome and Rand is awesome. But don't tell him I said that. So let's hear some questions. What questions? I mean, give you guys some questions. What games are you excited for? What things you want to see at E3? There's so much cool stuff on the horizon, I believe. But don't know about it all yet. Time will tell. Jez, Marmite or Vegemite? Right. More mod support for next gen. Jason B, that's an interesting question because Microsoft announced this whole modding platform and they haven't done a huge amount with it. The most recent update on that was they announced they were going to work on this whole modding platform with Paradox Interactive to make games like Cities Skylines and Surviving Mars, and Stellaris, which all have really, really prominent modding communities on Steam. I think like work is still ongoing with that. I don't know if we're going to see the fruits of that in the near term. Definitely in the long term, it does seem to be something Microsoft is dedicated to. Hopefully, we'll see more of that down the line. Hans, I am not German. My girlfriend is German. I am British, and my girlfriend is German. And I moved over to Germany because my girlfriend's studying at university in Germany, and it didn't make sense for me to make her move to England. But I like Germany. A lovely, lovely country, and it was just awesome not to have to listen to things about Brexit all the time. What kind of whiskey? I'm drinking Right. Well, I finished the Highland Park single malt Scotch whiskey. I finished that one, and I've now moved on to Ben Bracken, which is a new one I've never had before, which is another single malt Scotch whiskey. It's very nice. My girlfriend's mother got it for me. Oh wow, I didn't realize how many questions we got because the thing stopped scrolling. Jez, why the cat? I don't know. It's just been my avatar on YouTube for ages. Like, I don't know. It's supposed to be my cat, Precy. I'm not very good at drawing, but there you go. Yes, you should start a Nintendo podcast. Man, you know what? I really would. But I don't really know anyone that's that into Nintendo. Maybe I can convert Rand and we can make this a multi-platform podcast in the future. I don't know. Jez, do you think Microsoft will release their consoles first? Eh, I think they'll. I honestly think they'll release them at roughly at the same time. And again, that's a guess. I don't know for sure. I think they'll probably both release in the holiday period. I don't think it matters too much which of them gets out first because people will make their decisions. Sorry, people make the decisions.
Have you
long
made your
before.
decision, Jez?
Oh yeah, of course, man.
Yeah.
People make their decision long before the consoles come out. And like I said, we talked about it on last week's show or the week before about how people are digitally locked into their consoles a lot more than they were at the turn of the last gen.
Yes, that is definitely a thing, and that's definitely going to play a part.
Yeah.
People like
Sorry.
spend a lot of money on digital games, man.
They do.
And they don't want to have to start over. And Microsoft is going to be like, all your stuff, your Xbox One games, your 360 games, the OG Xbox games, they'll be able to be played on the next gen Xbox back and pat. Sony's doing back and pat with the PS4 at least. So they want to keep those customers in the ecosystem and keep on spending money and spending time on there.
Hell yeah.
So, wait, so Get Good says, Rand, you're making a Nintendo podcast from now on? What? A Nintendo podcast?
Someone said we should make a Nintendo podcast, and I said, we can do it if I manage to convert.
There is a game. There is a game I'm probably going to play soon on the Switch, and that's Katana Zero. That game looks really cool. So, by the way, the dog's doing well. He gets a little scared when people aren't around, so he was upstairs, kind of laying down in one of the beds, just
bless him,
just like sleeping, like so.
Your dog's a good boy.
Yeah, he's a good boy. He's a big boy. He's a full unit, that's for sure. It's like he's huge, like I mean, obviously I've shared the picture on Twitter and stuff of him, but English Mastiff gets really, really big. But yeah, thanks for all the questions, guys. Thanks for hanging out with us on a Friday. Hopefully we'll be back Wednesday or Thursday next week, and there's some exciting things to talk about. I'm sure me and Jez will get our Xbox predictions, E3 predictions pretty soon, since we're almost like a month away. So, as always, follow Jez on Twitter. His link is in the description. And what do you got going on, Jez? Any articles people should be on the lookout for in Windows Central?
Nah.
So just follow Jez on Twitter, vote in his poll, and vote for whatever game you want. I think Rise will win that poll. No.
Yeah. Yes, you were.
No, because I voted for Quantum Break. So vote for whatever you want. Thank you guys for watching. Make sure you hit the like button, subscribe if you're new. Shout out to everybody listening later on iTunes and Google Play. We appreciate it. And we'll see you next week. Later, guys.